Is the underground civilization Agartha real? Do you believe that there is life inside our Earth as well? Let's take you to Agartha, the inner center of the world. Agartha is a legendary underground organization that is mentioned in Tibetan and Central Asian traditions and is believed to be in Asian mountain ranges. The tunnels alleged to belong to Agartha are in Turkey, America, and Brazil. According to a claim many people believe, there is a civilization living in our world. And this civilization's capital is an underground city called Agartha. But is it just a belief or is it a finding with concrete pieces of evidence? What if I told you Hitler's one of the goals was finding this place? Would that shift you from faith to truth a little? And what if I go further and tell you Hitler actually found Agartha's gate and mobilized all his means to get through the door? Now sit back and get ready to learn this exciting stuff. In our video, we will discuss the findings about life inside Earth and the cultural and religious sides of it. According to the theory called Hollow Earth, there is life in the inner part of the world. The capital is Agartha and there are passages to this civilization at the poles of the Earth. In short, there are cavities and holes in the poles of our Earth, and these holes open to a new world inside the Earth, just like a gateway. What I'm telling you may sound like a dream, but even Hitler believed it and made a lot of effort to go there. Before moving on to Hitler, let's examine the history of this theory. History of Hollow Earth Theory. The history of Agartha dates to Tibet and Central Asia legends. This legendary, mystical world mentioned in traditions can only be visited through secret passages in the mountains located in some geographies. According to the narratives, tunnels alleged to belong to Agartha are found in Turkey, America, and Brazil. In 1870, a scientist named Cyrus Teed had an accident and claimed that he was inspired by a divine source and claimed that he was aware of this civilization in the center of the Earth and even founded a cult. Rumor has it that a satellite sent in 1968 took photos of these holes at the poles, but NASA removed these photos from its archive and collected them. However, some groups continue to post these photos on the internet. A NASA employee confessed to the issue in 1977. Tom Gates, while giving a course to college students in Arkansas, was asked a question about the polar openings at the poles and he said, "You know, we have satellites that pass over the poles. They can view the Earth very clearly in clear weather." Photos of the poles taken by NASA are distributed all over the world. However, photos showing the openness at the poles are censored. By this answer, he admitted that the openings in the photos were censored. So, who lives in the inner center of the world? And how can they live? Who lives in the hollow Earth? According to sources and claims, the race living in Agartha has superior technology to us. And they say the UFOs we see from time to time are actually coming from hollow Earth, not from space. There were already those who witnessed UFOs coming out from under the sea. In other words, people living there are actually observing life on Earth with UFOs. According to Ray Palmer and Gray Barker, one of the leading UFO experts, the flying circles were not coming from other planets, but from the inner Earth. The first person to claim that UFOs come from inside the Earth is the president of the Brazilian Theosophical Society, Professor Dr. Enrique José de Souza. One of the professor's students, Commander Strauss of the Brazilian Navy, said that UFOs belong to the structure of the Earth, but they were made by the underworld Agartha, not by the nations on the surface of the Earth. This topic was talked about a lot in Nazi Germany and attracted the attention of Hitler, who had a lot of interest in mystical topics, and he took big action. So, what did Hitler do? Wait, there's more until we talk about Hitler. According to some, the Agarthans are a tribe who built themselves a life inside the world to hide from the flood of Noah, which is found in many sources. According to some, they fled into the Earth a long time ago to hide from the aliens who invaded the Earth. According to some, they migrated from the lost continent of Mu and Atlantis. Another claim is they are a community established by initiates for spiritual development. They retreated into the mountains and caves for their development. And there are claims of extinct creatures living there, like mammoths and dinosaurs. So, what is the place of Agartha in religious sources? The place of the hollow earth in religions. Agartha as a word is of Buddhist origin. All faithful Buddhists believe that there is a world under the ground or a mighty empire. In almost every belief and heavenly religions, it is mentioned that there are beings living underground. This tribe, named Gog and Magog in Jewish and Christian tradition and named Yajuj and Majuj in Islam, was a corrupted tribe. According to Quran, they were imprisoned behind a mountain by a person called Dhul-Qarnayn because of their actions and was said for them to be impossible to get out until Judgment Day. It is mentioned in the verse as follows, Surah Qaf verses 93 to 98. Finally, when he reached between the two mountains, he found a tribe which did not understand a word. They said, "O Dhul-Qarnayn, Yajuj and Majuj are causing trouble in this country. Would you accept if we paid you a price to build a wall between us and them?" Dhul-Qarnayn answered, "The blessing and power in which my God has placed me is greater than yours. Support me with your power, so I can build an insurmountable barrier between you and them. Bring me masses of iron." And when he filled the valley between the two mountains with iron, he said, "Light the fire." When it turned into an ember, he said, "Let me pour some molten copper on it." And now they can neither overcome nor pierce it. So, when the time of Judgment Day comes, the mountains will be flat and this community which was trapped by the wall Dhul-Qarnayn built will be free. Finally, when Yajuj and Majuj get free and when they flock from every hill. Al-Anbiya, 96. So, how are their appearance is depicted in religions? According to the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad, Yajuj and Majuj is such a crowded community that they can consume the water of lakes and rivers by just drinking it. But their appearance is not much different from people's. Just some of the physical details. For example, it is reported in hadith sources that their height is shorter than normal people. Again, according to the sources, Prophet Muhammad went to this community on the night of Miraj and delivered a message. So, could Yajuj and Majuj be the people who live in Agartha? And has gone to them? Since Yajuj and Majuj are a community trapped underground, it coincides with the Agartha phenomenon. However, according to some claims, people living in this community can get to the outside world through UFOs. But according to Islamic belief, this is unlikely until the time of Judgment Day. But if we listen to the interview of former CIA agent Virgil Armstrong on the subject, we can see that in fact there is a barrier just like the one in the Islamic faith, and it is impossible to cross the barrier except for some people. Virgil says, as for the barriers of power in the inner world, they were put there to protect this hollow world. No one can cross the barriers, except for certain people. We'll come to Virgil's interview later. Maybe there are two communities and only one side can get out. There is one more thing that supports this claim. Gog Magog and Yajuj Majuj, as you can see, these are two different names for the nations. Is there such a situation in Agartha? Yes, there is another community in Agartha called Shambhala. In some traditions, Agartha is described as the right-hand path, that is, the white occult group, and Shambhala is described as the left-hand path, that is, the black occult group. On the contrary, it is also claimed that Agartha is bad, and Shambhala is good. According to the belief in Tibet, the people of Shambhala appear on the world from time to time. Meet with Shambhala's partners who live on the surface. And give precious gifts and relics to people. But is it possible to live underground? According to the belief, there are large openings at both poles. There are seas, rivers, continents and life in the inner world just like in the outer world. The inner world is illuminated by a central sun, which is in the middle of the Earth's sphere. So, they say that there is also a central sun in the middle of the Earth. According to their beliefs, what we call magma is hollow Earth's sun. The famous Time magazine, in one of its issues published in 1993, had claimed that there was an underground continent under Iceland. 6 months later, a similar article was published in the journal Scientific American. In a satellite photo of the poles published on the internet, black openings are seen in the polar regions. One of these photographs graced the cover of Time magazine in 1963 and was presented to the readers with the title, Holes in the Poles. Now I am sharing with you a short part of the statements of former CIA agent and UFO researcher Virgil Armstrong about the inner world. We would like to receive reliable information from you regarding the inner world. With the word inner Earth I mean a shell that has a diameter of 800 miles extending down from the surface. The hollow Earth is on the inner side, and in its center, there is a kind of a sun. The world is really hollow. Admiral Byrd had also discovered this fact. Are there tunnels in the inner world? Yes. How long are these? Oh, very. It's many, many miles long. Some of them have a length of up to 100 miles. Are these illuminated? Some of them, yes. It is not possible to come across any people at that depth. If you don't know where you're going, you could die there. I lived for 24 years with the locals who told me these stories. Stone Age people and prehistoric creatures, for example, mammoths can be seen at that depth. They are floating in the air there. Floating? Under there? Yeah, they are floating still in the air. It seems that no one has understood how the barriers that block the entrance to the inner world work. Since these barriers are made of a very high frequency, only people who know how to can pass through it. Who can pass through there? Under certain circumstances, certain people who know how to do it can pass through there. Do you know how this is done? No, I've never done it. Is this a force against gravity? It must be a force against gravity. In any case, there is no gravity in this area. None at all? No, there is no gravitational force at all. The animals that enter there remain suspended in the air. They're trapped in there and they can't get out. And then they die, of course. Once they enter here, they remain there motionless the way they entered. How do they get in? By mistake. After entering there, they are trapped there due to the absence of energy and gravity. Is there a single civilization or many civilizations in the inner world? Many. The most important city is Agartha. Is Agartha in the inner world or in the empty world? In the inner world. The empty world has its own separate civilization. Does Shambhala also belong here? No, Shambhala belongs to the inner world. Shambhala and Agartha are one and the same thing. In many parts of the Bible there are chapters about the empty world. As for the power barriers in the inner world, they were put there to protect this empty world. No one can cross the barriers. Except for certain people. Are there openings at the poles that lead directly into the empty world? Yes. The interview is longer, but for now, I want to end the conversation here. I can post it in the second part. As for the subject we have left unfinished now, after mentioning that the Prophet Muhammad visited the underground community of Yajuj and Majuj on the night of the Miraj, did anyone else go to these people? We asked. We do not yet know if Yajuj, Majuj and Agartha are the same community, but according to claims, the first person to visit the hollow world and the only witness of the legend is Admiral Richard Byrd. Lived between 1888 and 1957. American Admiral and polar explorer Richard Byrd was the first person to fly over the South Pole in 1929. The Admiral had noted in his diary what he had experienced on a polar expedition in 1947. The title of the diary is as follows: An Exploration Flight at the North Pole, the Inner World, My Secret Diary. In his note entitled Flight Logbook, February 19, 1947, he also added the following. My writings are about my flight on the Arctic on February 19, 1947. When the time comes, surely people will become wiser and accept the inevitable truth. I am not at liberty to explain what I have written, perhaps they will never see the light of a social review, but it is my duty to record them so that one day everyone can read them. In this greedy and exploitative world, I am absolutely sure that humanity will no longer be able to hide the truth. Explaining that he visited Agartha in his notes, the Admiral relayed his experiences as follows. 6 o'clock, all preparations are completed. I'm going to fly north, all fuel tanks are filled. 6:20, the starboard engine seems to be more powerful. We made arrangements, now it's better. 7:30, we have made a radio contact check with the base. Everything's fine. My radio operator is pleased. 7:40, there seems to be a weak current in the starboard engine. The oil pressure is normal. 8 o'clock, I'm flying. The flight looks normal. I'm flying at 22,000 feet. Turbulence is normal. Everything's fine. 8:15, radio control with the base is normal. 8:30, turbulence has occurred. I decided to descend to 1,000 meters, the flight conditions seem soft. 9:10, a very large ice field, snow is falling at the bottom. The view is amazing. I see all colors, from red to purple. The compass keeps turning around where it is, we've reconnected with the base and I told them what I saw. 9:10, both of my compasses, the magnetic and Euro compasses, have completely lost their balance, they keep vibrating. I'm using the solar compass. The controls are reacting slowly, but there's no sign of icing. 9:15, I see mountains in the distance. 9:49, it's been 29 minutes since I've seen the mountains. There is no visual error. These are mountains and they are in a mountain range formation that I have never seen before. 9:55 a.m., the altimeter shows 8,900 meters, there is strong turbulence. 10 a.m., I am still flying north and there is a small mountain range below me, I am identifying it and I need to get it investigated because such a mountain formation does not exist on the maps. What is that? Between the mountains and right in the middle flows a small river, there cannot be a green valley below. There's something strange and not normal here. There should have been ice and snow, but I see green forests on the slopes of the mountains. My navigational aids are still spinning wildly. The gyroscope is still vibrating back and forth. 10:05 a.m., I descended to 4,000 meters and made a hard left turn over the valley below. Below is a field covered in green. The light is different here, I can't see the sun. I turned a little more to the left and saw very large strange animals below. They look like elephants, but no, they're mammoths. It's unbelievable, but they're there. I'm at 3,000 meters, I'm looking through binoculars and I see animals, they're there. They are very similar to mammoths. We need to report this to the base. 10:30 a.m., approaching the green-colored hills. The outside temperature, according to the thermometer, is 23 degrees. I continue to fly straight. The indicators are normal, but I'm in a puzzle. We're calling the base again, but the radio's not working. 11:30 a.m., if I use the word normal in this environment, everything is fine. There is a place up ahead, it looks like a city. The plane has become too light, it is flying like a feather, and the controls are not listening to my orders. Gosh! I'm flying in a plane that doesn't react normally and I'm not fast enough, but there's a strange vehicle flying ahead. Disc-shaped and shiny. He's coming towards me, I see the sign on him, it's a swastika. Fantastic! Where are we? What's going on? I'm trying to take the controls back. But it's not happening, the controls are rebelling. 11:35 a.m. Crackles come from the radio, a voice in English, but it comes from deep. The accent is Swedish or German. He says, "Welcome to our region, Admiral. We'll have you down in 7 minutes. You're in safe hands. Don't worry." The engines of my plane have stopped, and I continue to fly under the control of a strange force. Now my plane has started to turn around on its own. 11:40 a.m., another radio message. The landing has begun. The plane trembles violently, plunges downwards. It's as if I'm inside a giant invisible elevator. I'm very comfortable now, I don't care about anything. With a slight jolt, my plane touches the ground. 11:45 a.m., I'm hurriedly writing the last sentences in my diary. There are people coming towards my plane. They are all tall and have blonde hair. In the distance there is a city with large and bright buildings, and waves of colors similar to rainbows rise over the city. I don't know what happened, but there's nothing dangerous, I don't see any weapons. As I'm opening the cargo door, I hear a voice say my name. I am okay to everything. End of recording. I'm entering the Crystal City. I have written down what happened after that, relying on my memory. I have to push my imagination, all this is crazy and things that shouldn't be happening. My radio operator and I got off the plane together, and this is a sincere welcome. We rode on top of a small platform without wheels. Now we are moving rapidly towards the shining city. The city is as if made of crystal. As I enter, I see buildings of a size I have never seen before. These buildings are beyond the drawings of Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous surrealist architect of the period. Or I'm on the set of a Buck Rogers movie, again, a science fiction hero portrayed in the cinema of the era. Hot drinks are served, which I have never tasted before, they are very tasty. About 10 minutes later, 2 flight attendants arrive, they are very nice, and they tell me to come with them. There's nothing to do, I'm leaving, but my radio operator stays. After a short walk, we enter a place like an elevator, we start to go down, the car stops, and the door quietly opens upwards. We are walking down a long corridor, a rose-colored light is spreading everywhere as if it comes from inside the walls. We are standing in front of a big door. There is an inscription on the door that I cannot read, the door opens without a sound, and I am pointed to enter. One of the attendants says, "There is nothing to be afraid of, Admiral, you will be admitted to the Master's presence." The Master's message. I walk in, I see stunning colors, the room is charming and very impressive. There is a very beautiful person in front of me, I can't describe what I see, the words I know are not enough for this. It's like a human being, but much more, it radiates peace and happiness. My thoughts are interrupted, he speaks in a melodious and warm voice. "Welcome to our place, Admiral." He is a man, there are traces of many years on his face, he sits at a long table, then gets up and shows me to sit down. We sit down, he looks at me and smiles, and again he speaks in that soft and melodious voice. "We allowed you to enter here because you are a noble person recognized on the surface of the earth." The surface of the earth? I say while holding my breath. He smiles and says, "Yes, you are now in the Ariani region of the inner world. I will not keep you from your mission too long, you will return safely to the surface. But now, Admiral, I'm going to tell you why we called you here. We are very interested in the first atomic bombs that your race detonated in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. Therefore, we were alarmed and sent our flying vehicles, we call them Fluggelrad. They are watching you and investigating what your race is doing on the surface. All this is in the past, Admiral, but we have to move on. We have never been involved in the wars and barbarism of your race before, but now the situation is different. You have learned about a natural force that is unsuitable for humanity, namely atomic energy. Our special agents have been sending messages to the powers in your world, but they haven't responded yet. Now we have chosen you as a witness to the existence of our world. You will see our culture and our science, which is thousands of years older than your race, Admiral. I interrupt him and ask what they are going to do with me. The master looks at me with his piercing gaze, as if he is reading my thoughts, and after a while he replies, "Your race has reached the point of no return right now. There are those among you who would rather risk destroying the world than give up their power." I shake my head and he continues, "In 1945 and after, we tried to establish relations with your race, but we were treated with hostility, our Flugelrads were fired at and shot down. Your warplanes chased ours, acting hostile with evil purposes. Now I am telling you, my son, that a huge storm of evil is forming in your world, a black rage and violence has been accumulating steadily for years without diminishing. There is no point in arming yourself, there is no safe place in your science. Every flower that blooms in your culture is being crushed and destroyed by anger and rage, and all human beings have fallen into a deep chaos. The last battle you had is just the beginning of what will happen to your race later. We see the situation here more clearly with each passing hour. Am I wrong? And I say, no, this has happened before, the Dark Ages came, but it ended 500 years ago. The master continues, yes, my son. The Dark Ages are coming upon your race now, the darkness will cover the world like a veil, but I believe that some of your race will manage to live, but there is still time, more should not be said. Far away, a new world will be born from the destroyed ruins of your race, they will search for lost legendary treasures, and they will be safe in our protection. When the time comes, we will help your race and your culture, maybe one day you will learn that war and strife are in vain, only after that your race will be able to get culture and science again. Now, my son, you can return to the surface with this message. And return." With these words, it seems that our meeting is over. I stop for a moment, it must be a dream, but I knew this is reality. I came to my senses when my two beautiful attendants came and said, "This way, Admiral." Before I leave, I turn and look at the master one more time. There is a soft smile on that mythological face. He says, "Goodbye, my son," and raises his thin long hand, making a gesture of peace. We quickly turn around and go upstairs. One of my attendants turns to me and says, "We have to hurry, Admiral. The master asked us not to delay you, you must definitely return and give the message." I say nothing. Everything that has happened is beyond belief. We are returning to the first place we came from, my radio operator is there, he is very nervous and has an anxious expression on his face. I calm him down by telling him it's all right, Howie. We are taken to our plane. With the flying platform again. The engines are not working, we get on it right away. After the door closes, the invisible force lifts the plane and takes it to 8,000 meters in an instant. Two of their vehicles are watching us from a certain distance. We're going very fast, but I can't read the speedometer, we're going forward. The radio is working, and a voice says, "We're leaving you now, Admiral, the controls are free. Auf Wiedersehen." A farewell in German. Howie and I watched the Fluggelrads disappear into the pale blue sky. My plane suddenly shakes and goes into a downward dive. We are recovering and taking control. Now the flight is normal, no one is talking, and we are both alone with our own thoughts. Continuation of the diary. 2200 hours, we are again in the endless desert of ice and snow. Our distance to the base is about 27 minutes. We are communicating, radio is clear. All conditions are normal. The people at the base are very happy to hear from us. 2200 hours, we are making a soft landing at the base. I have finished this task, but a much bigger one is waiting for me now. End of recording. On March 11, 1947, I was at a meeting at the Pentagon. I explained what had happened, explained my discovery, and relayed the master's message. Everything was recorded. Information has been passed to the president, but I feel that I am being delayed. They had long negotiations with the high security organization and a medical team. I perceive an intent. I am in great distress. In accordance with the U.S. national security conditions, I am under strict control. And finally, I received the order. I am asked to remain absolutely silent about everything I know. I will do this in the name of humanity. It's unbelievable, but I'm a soldier, and I have nothing to do but follow orders. December 30th, 56, last words. Many years have passed since 1947. I need to complete my diary. When I close, I am confident. I have kept this secret with faith for many years. It was against all my moral values and rights. Now I feel that the eternal night has come, and this secret should not die with me. But the truth will eventually prevail. This is humanity's only hope. I see the truth, and my soul is struggling to get free as soon as possible. I have done my duty for the military. Now the long night begins, but it won't be the end. As in the long Arctic night, the bright sunlight of truth will come again, and light will arise from the darkness. Because I have seen the greatest unknown in the land that exists beyond the pole. Admiral Richard E. Byrd. U.S. Navy, December 24, 1956. Was Admiral Richard, who said, "Because I have seen the greatest unknown in the country that exists beyond the pole," dreaming? Or had he really witnessed a world that was far beyond his dreams? Let's not talk about them too much, though. After all, the walls have ears, doesn't it? If you guys request, the second part, in which I will tell you in detail about the conflict between Hitler and his team with Agarthans and Hitler's connection with Agartha, will be published. Goodbye, stay with love.